This is the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijoma, and I thank you for joining me for another episode of the podcast. My guest this week is a return guest, and she's here to give us an update on what she's been doing since our last conversation. It's Cyndi Blais, and she runs the Etsy shop Funktional Wearables. Hi there. If you're listening to the podcast, then I assume you're either a maker, a blogger, or you run a creative business. And if so, I'd like you to join me for a conference that's coming up next year. It's the Craftcation Conference. It's held once a year, and it's a 4-day conference that features over 80 hands-on DIY craft workshops, business classes, and social events. It's held from April 27th to the 30th, or it will be held from April 27th to the 30th of 2017 in Ventura, California. Now, Craftcation is a conference that's put on by Delilah Snell and Nicole Stevenson, and you might remember I've had them on the podcast. They're the ladies behind Dear Handmade Life, and I had them on the podcast in February of 2016, and that's episode 116. If you'd like to listen to our conversation and just learn more about them, please do go back and listen to that episode. And we also talk about the Craftcation Conference in that episode as well. At Craftcation, what you get are skills that you'll need to start your business if you haven't already, or if you have a business already, take that business to the next level. You'll make longtime friends at the conference and also build your community and support system. It's also a good way to just get together with the creative community and discover or rediscover the inner artist and crafter inside you. Again, Craftcation happens only just once a year, and every year it does sell out. I believe there are about 400 people that attend the conference. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's not too big and not too small, but it does sell out. So if you're planning for your conferences for the next year and you're trying to decide which ones you want to attend, I would recommend Craftcation. Again, it's 4 days. It's going to be on the beach, so that's kind of a bonus. And it's specifically designed for creative business owners. You can learn more about this conference at dearhandmadelife.com. If you choose to go, I do have a discount code for anyone who listens to this podcast. You can get $20 off your Craftcation tickets, and that's if you use promo code Etsy Convo. Again, that's dearhandmadelife.com. Get $20 off your registration if you use the promo code Etsy Convo. But go over to dearhandmadelife.com to learn a bit more about it and listen to episode 116 where I talk to Delilah and Nicole. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Here's the episode.
Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijoma Elazu.
Hi, Cyndi, and thank you for coming back on the podcast.
Thank you. It's very nice to be back.
Yeah. And so for anyone who hasn't heard our first conversation, that was episode 81 of the podcast. And Cyndi runs the Etsy shop Funktional Wearables. And I always tell people after we talk the first time, I say, if you ever want to come back on the podcast, or if, let me know, let's catch up. I want to hear what's going on and how things, how your business has grown and how things have changed. And that's exactly what this is. Our first conversation aired back in June of 2015. So that was about 18 months ago. And a lot has happened in Cyndi's business, and I've been following her on Instagram and just keeping up on everything that's going on. And a couple of times I reached out to her. I was like, do you want to come back on? Because stuff is happening and I'm watching it happen. So I want you to come back on. And eventually we made it work. So I thank you for taking time out to come back to the podcast, because I know you've gotten a lot busier since the last time we spoke, right?
I have, yes.
Okay. So let's just catch people up on you. Tell us what you do and what you sell on Etsy and what your business is all about.
So in early 2014, I got a Fitbit for myself to, try to get myself in a little better shape. And it worked. I really liked having a Fitbit. It made me more conscious of, decisions and how, active that I was being. But the one thing that I did not like about the Fitbit was how it looked. So I had been making jewelry most of my life. It's just been a hobby of mine. And I had a little bit of free time. So I had been kind of looking to get into a new business. So I thought that I should start making jewelry for the Fitbit as like a new little side business. But it actually, within a few months, it became the majority of my business and my main focus because it really took off pretty quickly. All thanks to Etsy. Etsy was the first place that I sold any of the jewelry on. Shortly after I started on Etsy, I did expand a lot to Amazon, eBay, a bunch of other online marketplaces, and even retail stores eventually. But it all started with Etsy.
Wow. And are you still selling on all those other platforms?
Yes, so I sell on Etsy, eBay, Amazon, bonanza.com, jet.com is the newest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really difficult, honestly, to get set up on there. It was
Really?
really time consuming. Yeah. But, um, but yeah, we've been up for a few weeks now and then the sales are, they're not overwhelming, but one or two a day. And
Yeah.
from what I've heard from other sellers is that there's a, ramp up period, but then it's been really good for them. So I'm hoping the same will be true for us.
Oh, that's interesting because I first heard about jet.com when I went for a conference in New York, and then I now they have ads on TV, but I didn't know that like small businesses were able to sell through jet.com. I thought they were bigger brands on Jet.
Yeah, there is a selection process. I did
Mhm.
have to apply, so I don't think they will allow just any small business.
Mm,
But yeah, we were approved, and probably the reason why they're selective is because it is a complicated process to get
yeah.
on. But I've heard that they're like the number 4 online marketplace in the U.S. So
Really?
yeah, that's what one of those sites said at least. So and that they're growing fast. So
Wow, that's amazing because they're still relatively young from what I
right,
understand.
yeah.
Okay. And so of of all the different platforms you sell on, and you also sell through your own website, which is functionalwearables.com. I will link to Cyndi's website as well, so you can go check out her website. But we're going to talk more about that because I have some questions for you about that. So of all the platforms that you sell on, which of them is the most time consuming, and which of them gives you the highest return
Mhm.
on on your time investment into that?
Um, well, so far, Jet has been the most time consuming because it was the most complicated to set up, and we haven't had much return on that. So, but Amazon would be the highest return, even though they do take a pretty large percentage.
Mhm.
That's the majority of my sales do come from there. And then my website is pretty close behind that. And
Okay.
that has been a big change since the last time I talked to you. The last time I talked to you, my website was not getting that many sales,
Mhm.
and I was getting a lot of sales on Etsy. And that's strange because that's kind of flip flopped. My sales on Etsy are actually lower than when we talked last time.
Yeah.
I I think that's because of the competition. There's a lot more competition on
On
Etsy
Etsy. Yeah.
in the field. And then I think the website sales have grown a lot as we've become more of a recognized brand name, and
Yeah.
we're out of marketing, and of course just organically because it's been around longer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even though you say the number of sales between Etsy and your website has flip-flopped,
Mhm.
as of the date we're having this conversation, you have almost 10,600 sales, which
Mhm.
is no small thing. I'm
Yeah.
sure anyone will agree. So, do you think it's still worth it to be on Etsy, even though now Functional Wearables is a recognized brand and now people can look you up and then immediately be directed to your website. Is it still worth it for you to sell on multiple platforms? Or do you think that having just your one home on the web will be more beneficial?
Oh no, I definitely I love selling on Etsy. I think that Etsy was created really well. It's very simple to sell on there. It's very straightforward to have discussions with people, and everything's recorded, so you can find things very easily. So I definitely plan on continuing to sell on Etsy,
Mm-hmm.
and the percentage that they take is, especially compared to Amazon and other sites,
Mm-hmm.
is much less too. So that's
Yeah.
nice.
So then I have a question. It might take some mental calculation. So
Mhm,
because Amazon does take a higher percentage, I think eBay is in between Etsy and Amazon
mhm,
um as far as final value fees that you pay.
mhm.
Do the number of sales on Amazon, say because you have more sales there, does the income balance out with, say, something like Etsy where you might not have as many sales but you're paying less in commissions and fees?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay, so that then it's worth it to stay where, everywhere.
Absolutely.
And on Amazon, are you selling at the Handmade at Amazon Marketplace or the main Amazon Marketplace?
It was really strange. I actually applied to sell on the Amazon Handmade Marketplace,
Hmm.
and I was rejected, and I don't know
You
why.
were?
Yeah, it was really
Ouch.
strange. Yeah. So I haven't. I've been meaning to follow up with that and everything, but we're doing fine just on the regular Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you okay, I was going to say, did you ever follow up? But you said you meant to. One of the things I do like about Amazon is that they are easily accessible, which sometimes isn't the same with Etsy. Like at Amazon, if at specific times during the day, and it's a nice large block of time, you can actually pick up the phone and call and talk to a live person about something. And I think that's really good that Amazon offers that. Um, I
Hmm.
I think I've heard Etsy has something similar where you can actually reach out to someone in customer service and get a response. But I think the way Amazon does it is just fantastic, where you put in your phone number and your phone rings in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's great with if you have a problem like
Hmm.
with something you purchase on Amazon, they're extremely responsive, but it's a little different when you're a seller. I feel like it's not as quite good.
That's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
it can be pretty challenging. Yeah, it was I had like this one listing that it's just for one bracelet, one size and one color of this bracelet that I sell, and they took it down, and because they got one complaint about it. And I tried so hard to figure out like, what I could do to get this. It was just one size and one color of this bracelet, like back up. And it just seemed really unfair to me that it was all because of one complaint. And I never was able to do it. I just kept getting the runaround from people. Like nobody knew how to get this fixed. So
Wow.
yeah, so they still have a little improving to do, but
Okay. Okay. But things are going well in the regular marketplace. Like,
yeah, yeah, and we've also expanded we're like on bedbathbeyond.com and Kohls.com and Sears.com.
wow.
Yeah, we're definitely expanding.
So how did you get onto those websites? Do you talk to their buyer directly, or were you approached by their buyers for these stores to carry your brands in their stores and on their websites?
Um, so for Kohls.com, I was approached by Kohls. They contacted me and I sent them a lot of samples, and that's how that happened. For Bed Bath and Beyond though, I did approach them. Mm.
Okay.
Yep.
And so when they approach you, did they tell you, well, in the case of Kohl's, did they
Mhm.
tell you how they discovered you? Was it on Etsy or was it through some other venue?
You know, she just told me she found me online, but
Mhm.
I don't think I questioned it further.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess if Kohl's called me and asked to carry,
Yeah.
I wouldn't really care too much how they found me. I'd just be happy that they did.
Yeah, it was very exciting for us.
Okay. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So now let's talk about how your product line has grown over the years. The last 18 months. So the fitness tracker market has expanded and grown. There are other providers now, not just Fitbit, and there are different types of trackers. So how has your product line evolved to stay ahead of the curve or in line with the industry curve in the fitness tracker industry?
Yeah, it's been a challenge definitely to keep up with so many new trackers coming out. So the first thing we do is as soon as they become available, we usually hear a lot of the buzz beforehand, so we know when a new one is going to come out, especially with the Fitbit line in particular. So we do the pre-order, so we get one as quickly as possible, and then once we receive it, we just work on figuring out whether it will work with any of our existing systems we have in place or whether we need to come up with something totally new. And fortunately, the trend is that they're, getting smaller and sleeker, which makes it easier for us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To keep up with, well, at least to create styles. Or you
exactly.
mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were really happy because when the Fitbit Flex 2 came out, which is, I think, getting really popular already. I don't know the exact statistics on it, but that was so wonderful because it works with all of our current bracelets for the Flex, along with some new ones as well, because it's even smaller. But we were just so excited to find that it did work with all of our current Flex styles.
Okay. Now, have there been any Fitbits that have been discontinued? And as a result, have you had to discontinue any product lines that you had that were tailored to those?
The only Fitbit that was discontinued, I believe, is the Fitbit Force. And that happened before I really got into this whole business anyways. So that didn't really affect me very much. I was affected, just as new styles come out, some of the styles, become a lot less popular, but I don't think they have become discontinued.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so as your business has grown, have you had to expand and get like administrative help or help with shipping and things like that just to keep up?
Yeah, well, from the beginning, I was lucky because I had a good network of employees and a good system in place already because before this business started, I had been selling Zumba and dance fitness clothes online. So I was
Oh
already very
yeah.
familiar and had accounts set up with Amazon and eBay, et cetera. So basically, I have the same staff from that business, and we have grown. hmm
Okay. Now, how did you find your employees initially? I know one of the things I like to ask is, as small businesses expand, we don't necessarily have the budget for like ZipRecruiter to pay
Right.
to have all a bunch of people come and interview. So how did you go about selecting the right people to come on board?
I've gotten really lucky with Craigslist. That's actually
Oh,
the only website I've used. Yeah. So between Craigslist and then just referrals from current employees.
okay.
hmm
And so when you look for them on Craigslist, do you let them know that you're an e-commerce business and you look for people who are experienced with that type of um, business?
So right now I have one lady and she works for me remotely from Arizona and she does pretty much the bulk of the more complicated e-commerce things. And then so my other employees that help me with online things, I have just trained them myself. I haven't required that they have a background in that.
Okay. Wow. Congratulations on that. I mean,
Thank you.
that's a big deal. I mean, like when you need staff, it's a good problem to have.
Yes.
All right. So, um let's talk about the marketing that you've done. So I know that you must have put in a lot of time and effort into marketing your brand and making functional wearables a recognized name. So what specifically, or even just in general, did you do or have you done over the last 18 months that has made Functional Wearables the bigger brand that it is today than it was back in early 2015?
Well, I've worked with two different public relations companies. And so we basically send out samples to bloggers, things like that to try to get some coverage. That's also how we've landed up on the news. I think 6 or 7 times now we've been on different news stations across the country and nationwide. And then besides that, I've also worked with a graphic designer. We have a new logo now.
I noticed, yeah.
Yeah. He thought our last one was a little too masculine. So,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah. So, he's helped me with that. And we have, now we use branded packaging too, which is something I don't think we had that last time. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, of course, online, we do a lot of, we do sponsored ads on Amazon and we do Facebook marketing and not too much anymore of like the Google AdWords, but it was working for us well in the past, but we've pretty much stopped that because there's just a lot of competition in that field now.
Okay. At what point did you decide it was time for you to get professional marketing help? Because I think that's something that a lot of Etsy sellers struggle with is marketing their businesses. But we all know it's always good to get someone who's good at that. That's what they do. That's what they're trained to do. That's their business to help you, because then the results you get are exponentially much better than if it was just you trying to figure out how to do Google ads or Pinterest ads and what have you. So at what point did you decide it was time to call in the professionals to help you with growing your brand? And what would you advise that Etsy seller who's listening that really wants to grow their brand and is concerned or is wondering how to go about getting from where they are to, maybe close to where you are?
Yeah, for me, I got lucky because it was something I had been thinking about, but I actually got approached by the company that I hired. So they sought me out and they said, we specialize in like female-owned companies in the tech arena. We think, we'd be perfect for you. The owners of this company actually created a purse that charges your cell phone. So I looked into that. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool because it is so similar kind of to what we do.
Yeah.
So the connections they have, were right up, in the right field. And I just felt like it. And they're based in San Diego, which made it that much, them face to face and all that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I got lucky because they found me.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it was definitely a good decision. When I heard their prices, I was a little bit like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know if, is that going to be worth it?
Yeah.
But, and it's hard, there are times in the beginning when I was like, is this worth it, to be honest? Because you can't really, there's not really a way to track how much, sales the exposure is getting you.
Yeah.
But, I did let, I think I did 6 months with them and then I took a break and I did notice that the sales slipped a little bit and things like that. So yeah, you don't ever really know for sure, but I definitely think that it has helped and it has been worth it.
Okay. So in the beginning, just for anyone who's listening, you're spending more than you're seeing is what I assume, than you're seeing return to you is my assumption. But is your advice just stick it out?
Right. Exactly, because it takes time. You're sending out the way that at least it works with the PR company that I've used is, they reach out to all these people, but all these people are busy, and it can take, definitely, 3 or 4 months for them to have the article come out or have the piece come out or have, the right time. So yeah, I would say be patient.
Oh, okay. Something just clicked for me, and it's a bit off on a tangent, but I got an email recently from someone who I don't know who he was. And now that I think about it, I guess they're your competition. They have a similar product, and they wanted to send it so that I could review it and do a product review.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, well, I don't have a fitness tracker, so I'm not really a target audience. But now that you're saying this, I'm thinking that's probably what this agency did for you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, it makes sense then.
Mm-hmm. And that was actually how, for example, they sent it to the Los Angeles Times, to some people at the Los Angeles Times. And that was amazing for me because
Oh,
it was months later that I got contacted by someone, but I ended up an article about, it wasn't about exclusively me. It was about, just people selling fitness tracker jewelry.
mhm.
But it was Los Angeles Times and I was the closest person. They came to photograph me. And then my big picture of me was on the front page of the business section of the Los Angeles Times. So that was
Wow.
very exciting. And then that paper is syndicated nationwide. So
Yes.
that was really amazing. It was,
Wow.
published in many papers.
And so when you get a feature like that,
Mhm.
where do you refer people to? Do you send them to your Etsy shop or do you send them to functionalwearables.com?
So that piece, it did mention how I started on Etsy, but I think it also gave the website directly.
Okay. All right. So now can we talk about just comparing and um what it's like to sell on Etsy, but then now you also have your website that you sell on. And
Hmm.
I know it's the goal for a lot of Etsy sellers to branch out and build their own e-commerce website. I know some people look at that as, a way to get off Etsy, and some look at it as a way to complement what they're doing on Etsy. So you're doing both. Can we talk about what in your experience have been the advantages and disadvantages of starting your own e-commerce site, and what it's like to run both in tandem, running your shop still on Etsy and your e-commerce site?
Yeah, definitely. So there's advantages to both. It takes time to get the exposure, to get the traffic to your website initially. Unless you want to spend a lot of money from the get go on that. But then you don't have to pay the platform fees nearly as much, of
Mm-hmm.
course, that you pay to Etsy and all those. Um, the only really negative thing about selling on your site that I've experienced is we've had some fraudulent orders.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and so then you do end up being responsible for those. So that is just, unfortunate. And I've never had that happen on Etsy I don't think anywhere else. I think they have seller protection programs in place.
yeah. So are
Yeah.
these orders that were placed, you received payment for and then shipped, or you shipped and you just never got the payment?
Yeah, so we got the payment. Everything seemed normal, just like any other order. But then I guess the credit card owner reported that they never made those buy.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's been unfortunate. So we have stricter things in place now. You know, of course, after these experiences where I was out of hundreds of dollars after the third time, I was like, okay, this is the change. So we
okay.
have it really strict. And the only thing now is that, um, you know, we might potentially lose a few sales from having more precautions in place.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it.
Okay.
And so sometimes people call and they say, "Oh, my credit card, didn't go through. Maybe it's because of this and this." And we figure it out, but at least that way I know it's legitimate.
Okay. Now on your e-commerce site, or your website, I should say, do you have a list that you create or that you're collecting of email addresses so that you can market directly to people who come to visit your site or people who have purchased through your website?
Yeah, actually, so what we do is we have a pop up for people when they come to our website, and it says, if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll give you a 10% off code. So yeah, so that's been helpful for us because we have a pretty good list now for our monthly newsletters. Hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
once a month you reach out or you get in touch with the people who subscribe.
Yeah, and it's not even once a month. It's like maybe once every 2 months, or
Okay.
or when there is a holiday or a Black Friday sale or something like that. So we don't want to bother people,
Yeah, I
but
know.
yeah, I can't stand it when I sign up for something and I'm getting like an email from them every day. It's so annoying.
Yes.
Yeah, so we
Yes.
don't want people to unsubscribe. We don't want to be like that.
I know, and that's the way I feel too. It's like, well, I'm happy people subscribe, but then, I'm like, do you really, really want to hear from me? Because, you
Right.
know, if you don't, it's okay. I don't want to bug
Yeah.
you. But then, you hear, all these, the internet marketing specialists who say, no, you need to stay in front of your audience. You need to stay in
Yeah.
front of the people and I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't want to be annoying.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So that's why I think it's good we only email them, every month and a half. But I do try to be really active on Instagram in particular. I try to post at least once a day for that account. And I have an
Yeah.
account, a Functional Wearables Instagram, as well as like another Instagram that's kind of business related, but more about me.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so I do try to post every day on there, and I feel like that's not as annoying because
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I know Instagram doesn't seem quite as annoying. I think I follow you on the functional wearables. I don't think I know your other one.
oh yeah, that's CYNDIFUNK, and it's just more pictures, mostly more pictures of me like wearing the jewelry, more about
Okay.
more about my life and my fitness and wellness in general. So it's
Okay.
related to functional wearables, but not not.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and then on your website, you also take wholesale orders. Do you take wholesale orders through your website and Etsy or just directly through your website?
So we actually have worked with a website called Brand Boom that is available for sellers, and it's free. You can have like 40 products on there, and it's free. And that's our preferred way to take wholesale orders. They just order directly from our Brand Boom website, and we also can give people a code so that way they can get the wholesale discount.
Okay.
Um, and then they're just required, I think our minimum starting wholesale order is like 15 pieces.
Okay.
So if they prefer to do it that way, they can do it that way as well.
And again, this is called Brand Boom, BOOM.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great
Okay.
resource. It's very easy to use. The only limitation is you can only have 40, I think up to 40 products on there for free. And then after that, they do charge you a subscription fee, et cetera.
Okay.
So what we have on there are our most popular products, but sometimes, especially like little boutiques, they don't care, if like, we only have a few of a little product left. And so that's why we have the other option for them to place the order through our website with the code.
Okay. And so if you put your product on Brand Boom, then do you change the price to a wholesale price just so they can buy in bulk?
Exactly. Hmm.
I see. Okay. And then do you do the same thing also with Etsy wholesale, or you only strictly use Brand Boom for your wholesale orders?
Yeah, we've never used Etsy wholesale.
Okay. Oh, wow. You
Yeah,
might be like just the right candidate for that.
I
Uh,
know. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I had another question. Oh, yes, blog. So your website has a blog as well. What what function does the blog serve in the grand scheme of your whole plan for the website?
Yeah. So, I was approached by a girl, guess it was last year, and she was a high school senior and
Mhm.
just super bright and really impressive. And so, she's been writing the blog. Just, we got her a Fitbit, and she writes about. Now she started college, and she's just been writing about her life experiences and the pieces she wore of functional wearables to what event, things like that.
Oh, so it's kind of like is it like an internship for her or just a way for her to hone her writing skills and get
Yeah,
experience writing
yeah.
for uh
It's just like a very loosely structured internship. Hmm.
Okay. Oh, nice. All right. Okay, so she's responsible for all the blog content that goes on there. Do you vet the articles that she posts beforehand, or it's her thing and you just let her run with it?
I do. I've always just read them first,
Mm.
but I've never changed them at all.
Okay.
Hmm.
Do you find that the response to the blogging and the writing is getting more people to see the the accessories in action, and then maybe show them how they can wear it themselves? Or is it just more like a fun thing, like, oh, okay, let's see the adventures of
A
Paige?
page. Yeah. Um, you know, I'm not sure. I definitely think it's beneficial. I just don't know to what degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think probably at some point, like maybe I'll start writing it, or it'd be cool to have somebody, of a very different age,
Hmm.
write to us for a while.
Yeah.
It's just neat to see people, how they wear it in their personal life.
Yeah, I think so too. And then it gives people ideas.
Hmm.
So now I noticed that on functionalwearables.com, you use BigCommerce. And I think more often than not, when I talk about um, running an e-commerce website with a lot of the sellers who I've had on the podcast, the majority tend to go with Shopify. And so you chose BigCommerce. What went into your decision to go with BigCommerce versus, well, not just Shopify, but any of the other providers? Because there are a number of them.
Yeah, it was definitely a hard decision, and I think Shopify was the people that we would have gone with, or the company that we would have gone with had we not gone with BigCommerce.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time researching Shopify, Magento, and BigCommerce.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seemed like Magento was very expensive. I think that was the downfall for that one. I'm not sure exactly why in the end BigCommerce won out over Shopify, but I can say that we've been pretty pleased with them overall.
Okay. And as far as and this just occurred to me, an inventory system. Does BigCommerce have an integrated inventory system in their back end? And if not, how do you track all your inventory and say the raw materials that you use to make the accessories, and how do you keep everything straight?
Um, so we use a separate inventory company for our finished products that syncs with BigCommerce, as well as it syncs directly with Etsy and Amazon and eBay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that definitely makes our life so much better. It doesn't sync with every place we sell on. For example, like it doesn't sync with OpenSky, which is OpenSky.com has been a good site for us. So for example, if we get an order from OpenSky.com, we have to manually remove the inventory from this site, but it's called Stitch Labs. And
Yes, actually, you've been using that since the last time we spoke, because I remember you mentioned them before.
Yeah, it definitely, I can't imagine not having them. It makes life
Really?
much better. Yeah,
Okay. And Stitch Labs is strictly for inventory management.
exactly.
Okay. So how does it work? Just so we all understand. You
Or,
do you
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it's strictly for inventory management. It
Okay.
does, there are some other features from there, and I do definitely enjoy, or not enjoy necessarily, but it's really interesting for me to follow the sales trends, et cetera, on there, because
Uh-huh.
that has, all the sales platforms go there. So I can see everything at one glance and
Oh,
looking at those graphs that they make, et cetera.
okay. So then it makes it hard to double sell an item or
Right.
if you have it in multiple places.
Exactly. Yeah. It still does happen occasionally when, we're down to the last couple and for some reason like three people buy it in, half an hour. It does occasionally happen. But it's rare. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the syncing is not instantaneous. I think it takes about between 10 and 30 minutes.
Okay. So
Mhm.
what do you do in a situation like that, where say you have two in stock and you make three sales?
Well, it's definitely not a fun situation, but overall, we've been really lucky, and we haven't had anyone too upset. So, say I sell to two buyers. First of all, if they're international, I'm going to give it to the international person because it's just I probably can't call them easily, etc.
Right, right. Yeah.
So I just go with that. But typically, they're both U.S. And in that choice, I try to call them because it's a lot easier to explain and make them happy over a phone call than an email.
Yeah.
So say I have two buyers and one is from Amazon and one's from Etsy, then I'm going to try calling Amazon person because Etsy does not provide phone numbers.
Oh, true.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll try to talk to them over the phone. So that's the first um, you know, step that I take,
Yeah.
because talk to them over the phone, I can, figure out what is like the best bracelet for them. And I always try to, make up for the inconvenience by, giving them, like a little extra something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Free stuff always makes everything better.
Right. I think so. And sometimes it's funny, when I talk to them, they're like, oh, well, I really don't care anyways. I just, whatever, especially men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're shopping for somebody else, they're like, oh, that's fine. But, but yeah, so I have been lucky in those situations. Fortunately, I've never had anyone too upset.
Okay. Now, I remember back when we talked the last time as well, you were using ShipStation to do
Mhm.
your shipping and fulfillment. Is that still working for you, or do you use a different system or a different service provider now?
Oh, I love ShipStation.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yes, still using it. It works really well. It's very rare we have an issue on there. Sometimes it'll happen where like, with eBay, occasionally I'll be like, I haven't seen any eBay orders for a day or two, and I'll look, and for some reason they just haven't synced. But I mean, that's about the worst thing I can say has happened with ShipStation. It makes life much easier having all the orders go into one place and doing the shipping batches all at once.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned eBay, and another thought just came to my mind. So, when people come to shop on Etsy, they know they're buying handmade and they're not necessarily looking for a known brand. I mean,
Hmm.
eventually they'll fall in love with your product and then seek you out and seek out your products. But eBay is kind of different because on eBay, people actually go there and look for known brands. Or
Right.
if they're not looking for a known brand, then they're looking for something vintage or something from way back when, like a memory that they have.
Hmm.
So when you have a product like yours, which is handmade and you weren't yet a known brand, how hard was it to gain, or how easy was it to gain traction on eBay and really get yourself in front of the eBay market when people weren't specifically looking for a functional wearables accessory?
Hmm. Um, Yeah, it's interesting. I was lucky that I had like a really established, I was already a platinum eBay seller because of my selling history with the dance and fitness wear before.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that gave me definitely a leg up. And I think people just found me by searching for like Fitbit bracelet or Fitbit jewelry, and it hasn't seemed to be a problem. I mean, I'm sure that like the known name brands, like Tory Burch makes Fitbit jewelry, and now Vera Wang has just started making Fitbit jewelry. I'm sure they,
Mm.
of course, are going to do a lot better. But yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. If they find you based on a search
Mhm.
for the accessory, maybe not necessarily your brand, and then they discover your brand.
Right. And we give all of our bracelets, et cetera, like names. So sometimes I think like we had a bracelet called the Tory. And so that one I think got a lot of the Tory Burch traffic.
Oh,
That
yeah.
worked for us, things like that.
Okay. Now that you have like big players and you're on your way there too, very much so. But you have Vera Wang coming into your space and Tory Burch coming into your space. Do you worry about that type of competition?
Um, you know, I I don't worry about it too much. I think actually if anything, it's beneficial to us because it just gets the concept of jewelry for fitness trackers out there.
Hmm.
And because our price point is significantly lower than those designers, I think it's a great alternative for people looking for to not spend as much.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Now, when we spoke the last time, you were still doing something with Global Z Fitness. That was still um, alive and well. What's
Mhm.
happening with Global Z Fitness today?
Well, I've had less time to work on it, so I really haven't been putting too much time into it. And it's definitely still alive and well, but it's on the back burner. So,
Yeah.
we still have all the listings up, but I haven't gotten new products for it.
Okay. So you have the same problem all every other entrepreneur has.
Yeah, not
Not
enough
enough
time.
time. Yes, great ideas, great concepts, but just when can I get to it?
Yes. But it's
Yeah.
it's great having, the Global Z Fitness, because it definitely is a good cross marketing for functional wearables. The people that are interested in that, many of them are also interested in, fitness and fashion. So
Okay. Oh, good to know. Um, Now the last time we talked also, you mentioned your aunt, and I think she had something to do with getting you on Etsy or getting you um involved in creating. I can't really remember exactly, but do you recall that?
yeah. So when I got the idea for functional wearables, I I wanted to do jewelry for the Fitbit, but I just wasn't, exactly sure how I wanted to carry it out. So
Hmm.
I thought right away to call her for a few reasons. Well, one, she's just very smart and is very crafty, and she's an excellent sewer. I didn't know how to sew. So yeah, it was wonderful. She came out for a week, and we really just sat down every day and worked on, prototypes.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
And how's she doing?
She's good. I'm excited. I'm getting married next year, and so
Oh,
I'll see her
congratulations.
soon at the wedding. Yeah, thank you.
Now, how is that going to fit into running a business?
Yeah, it's already challenging, finding the time to plan it, but I will be wearing functional wearables at the wedding for sure.
Yes, yeah. Probably your train might get some functional wearables, the
Yeah.
bridesmaids or bridal party.
Oh, yeah, so I'll make sure they're wearing them too.
Yeah, yeah. So, over the last 18 months, other than the resources that we've already talked about, so Stitch Labs and ShipStation, are there any others that you particularly enjoy using or that you found particularly helpful that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I mentioned my Instagram accounts.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way for people to get out there. Just use a lot of pertinent hashtags. I know that the two accounts that I mentioned have grown a lot.
Mhm.
Have almost 20,000 followers on one and about 12 on the other, 12,000 on the other.
Oh, wow.
Um, and then
And you post every single day,
that's
or
my
you
goal.
try to.
I
Yeah.
try to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm. And let's see. I don't know how these are going to work yet, but I've been hearing so many great things about video ads on Facebook. So we just made 4 of those, and
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
excited to see. Yeah, they're in the editing process now, but if from what I've heard about them, that could be great. And I'm so sorry. What was the question again? I got
Resources, any resources that
lost.
you find particularly helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's great. And I would love to know how the Facebook video advertising, well, the Facebook video thing works out. What I like about Facebook advertising is that you can really laser target it. So you're
Exactly.
not wasting money like you might on less targeted types of advertising. So I
Right.
know Facebook has a lot of potential when it comes to advertising. I just don't really know how to do it myself. So I'm curious to learn what results you get and how the process worked for you.
Yeah, it's been really fascinating, like analyzing the results that we've gotten with our posts on there. Some states in particular were so much more active, and certain demographics. We found that we got the most response from women 35 to 44. So now we really hone in on them, and also we only target like people that have shown an interest in fitness.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely helpful.
Okay. Cyndi, what advice would you give to that Etsy seller who feels like right now they're on the cusp and ready
Mhm.
to expand their brand and expand it in a way similar to what you've done. It might be a different product, but there's the potential that it can grow. What advice would you give to that person right now?
Yeah, if they are really confident in their product and they, are just totally focused on it and prepared to make it their full-time job, then I would say, you know, get out there, approach retail stores. I'm in conversations with a lot of retail stores right now. We actually almost got into Best Buy, and we plan on being in those stores next year. So that's extremely exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, just, because the faster you do it, the better, because there's going to be other people coming along after you.
Yeah.
So don't wait. Like, if anything, I look back and I wish I had taken more action sooner.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever get easier?
No. I don't know. Not for me. It hasn't.
That's what I thought.
There's like always something new, like every day almost. I'm like, oh, well, that's never happened before.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So you never really get to a point where you're just coasting along, especially not if you're growing your brand. It's
right.
Growth is an active process. And I just want people to be aware of that don't think you get to a point and then you stop and you're coasting, because then you plateau.
Right.
You just, to continue growing, you have to stay active. You have to stay engaged. And I see you doing that. Like I said, I just see you growing and just doing different things as time goes on. And it really is encouraging. And it's just nice to watch the growth of your business. So congratulations on all you've done.
Oh, thanks so much.
So can we do this again in another 18 months?
Yes, I would love to.
All right, great. What's the best way people can reach you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, we love taking phone calls. So, definitely, I have great bilingual customer service, and we love to help people find the best products. And, I'm at the office every day from at least 9 to 7. So they can call us at 858-935-9105. And then we respond to emails very quickly too, usually.
And what's the email address?
That'd be info@functionalwearables.com. And functional is with a K. So FUNK.
Yes. Thank you. And then I will also post links to your social media accounts. So if people want to follow you on there, what's the best, I know you're active on Instagram. Is there any other social media platform that you'd like people to connect with you on?
That would be great. Of course, there's Facebook, and then we're also on Tumblr and Twitter.
Okay. And is your handle Functional Wearables on each of those?
Actually, on Twitter, because of their character limit, it's Functional Wear.
Okay. All right. All right. So I will have links to all of those. If you want to get in touch with Cyndi, please feel free to. She's learned so much and, grown a lot. So I think, thank you for being a resource on this podcast and just sharing how you've grown and what you've done. And I really am excited for your brand. I feel like one day I'm going to see a commercial on TV and I'll tell people, I talked to her when she was first selling on Etsy and people didn't know, but I was like, I know she's going to grow.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. That just made my day.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much again for taking time out to come back on the podcast. And I really mean that. Let's do this. It doesn't have to be 18 months, but let's talk again.
I would love to.
All right, great. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.